when you reach 4 minutes of debating times, right, there will be a sound of all right, 4 minutes, and then 5 minutes. I will immediately announce, and you have to put down your microphone and stop debating. All right. So let's do the regulate rule of the games one more time. So there will be 4 members for one team, right? Support and against. Each member have 5 minutes to pitch, no, to debate, not pitch. Sorry. Okay. So the sequence will be introduction, to argument, respond to the argument from the other teams, and then summarize of the whole thing. All right. Um, the point will be not grading according to 50% by me, depends on your context, depend on your content, your argument, your responsive debating stuff. Another 50% will be depend on your friend. So we have a poll for you to vote. All right, per each session, there are 5 no 5 voting per one session. So basically, before the first team and the second team pitch, I will ask you to vote one time. I send you a link to a group, to your group line, the group line. After the first one finished, both of you, both teams, I send you another link to vote for the second round. And we do this until the 4th member of the team debate. So there'll be a total of 5 voting round per one session. All right. I will send you the link immediately after the first round of the debating teams finish. And then you need to vote. And then I will stop the voting before the next one, the following debaters come on the stage. Good, clear enough? And yes, exactly the voting, the link that I need to you to submit your vote require you to register your July emails, and then it will immediately be attendance tag for this class. This is very good. Okay, so I send you the link to the live group now for the first session, which is, does sustainability development require radical change in culture or not? Exactly, I want to tell you, the team, you can't vote for yourself. So the team that's debating, please don't vote yourself, okay? All right. For the first session, we will have the support team from Mr. Thirapat, Mr. Kanokjet, Mr. Win, and Mr. Chayapat. Please come and sit on the right hand side of the room. And from the against team, we will have Miss Mata, Mr. Svirapop, Mr. Napat, and Mr. Kongpasit. Top team. Please come to sit on the left side of the room, please. Yes, this is support and this is against, right?
ไม่ฟังดีแล้ว
You might want to sit in the proper orders, like the first one, second, third, and fourth. First one, second, third, and fourth. All right.
มึงเปิดก่อนสิไอ้สัตว์มึงยังไม่เปิด
We are on YouTube live now, so please look at the camera when you speaking. Don't swear. Please don't do any word 18 plus. Behave yourself as Chulalongkorn University student. And remember, this is not TikTok, so we don't do it again. So it's live. All right. If anything goes wrong, if you see Dalia say something like this, so stop speaking. Cool. All right. Okay. So uh, let me just do the time calculating. All right, guys. If you're ready, you can take it away.
Hello, good morning. I'm Cognition. So, few things in human life are more powerful than ideas and concepts. And culture is one of the most influenced in all walks of life. So, does sustainable development require radical change in culture? Of course, yes. As Raymond Williams said, culture is one of the two or three most complicated words in English usage. We define culture as the way of life, especially the general custom and beliefs of a particular group of people at a particular time. Culture can be seen as the basis for our human activities, and therefore it is crucial to sustainable development. And for the word radical change refers to change that occur relatively fast and modify the essence of social structure or organization practice. And the word develop is the process of change and evolution towards a new situation that is better in social, cultural, and environment terms. And the last word, sustainability, is therefore the idea that we should leave the earth in as good or better shape for future generations than we found in for ourselves. The first reason that can prove the motion can be seen from the historical evidence. 20 years ago, most people used petrol cars. However, recently, most people changed to use electric cars. This happened because humans have to find the best thing for themselves and environment, which demonstrate that there will be many changes happening in our daily life. Throughout the past decade, statistic indicators and data on the culture sector, as well as operational activities have underscored that culture can be a powerful driver for development with community-wide social, economic, and environment impact.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Kadoktet. You spent only 2.5 minutes. Okay, good. Next, the against team, Miss Mata.
Okay, good morning, everyone. My name is Mata Vichitalak, and I'm from the opposite. I'm the leader of the opposition team. Okay, before we start, I want to clarify some of the words to make sure that we are all in the same page. The three words I want to clarify are sustainability, cultures, and radical, which in our topic, does sustainable development require radical change in culture? First of all, let's start with sustainability. I think everyone knows what sustainability is, but does everyone know what is the factor to consider if that country has sustainability or not? Okay, for to save some times, I will tell you now. The framework by the United Nations to consider if that country has sustainability or not. There are four factors to consider, which are economics, political, environmental, and lastly culture. And I want to highlight that all of these factors have to be considered and balanced. Let's move to culture. Most people think that culture means some certain things, but it's not true. From Oxford Dictionary, culture means the way of life, custom and belief, arts, and social organization or a particular country or group. In a nutshell, culture is lifestyle and religion and social organization too. Lastly, radical. Radicals mean throughout on extreme, especially as regard change from accepted or traditional form. Um, Shortly, this would mean change, but change in the fast way and affecting the fundamental nature of something. Let's get back to our topic. We disagree that sustainable development requires a radical change in culture. Because, as I mentioned, culture is a way of life, it's our lifestyle, and it's the things that take time to develop. So, if it has to be changed for some reason or for development, it can't be a radical change because sometimes culture dig deep into the roots and become parts of our life. And if it really has to change, we think that increment change will be a better way. Take Loi Krathong, for example. Loi Krathong is a festival that Thai people pay respect to the goddess of water by releasing beautiful krathong, which is lotus-shaped raft decorated with candles, incense, and flowers onto the water. This culture seems to be picturesque festival, right? But it's actually damaged the ecosystem and the sea life. Turn back into the last 20 years. No one's want to use the little Katong because they have believed that if Katong they release things, it means that the life will go down like that Katong too. So they have to release the big Katong to make sure that it is stable. As time passed by, people realized that Katong create trash and damage in the nature and the belief become fade away. So we have alternative way to reduce the trash, like using Katong made from bread. But it doesn't work because when the large amount of bread go into the water and fish can't eat it anymore, it becomes spoiled and make the water smell bad. Currently, take Chulalongkorn University for example. We still have the Loi Krathong festival, but we use the Krathong from little candle, which does not create much trash and easy to collect back. As you can see, it doesn't mean that we cannot change for the sustainable culture. We can, but it has to take time to change, like increment change, not the radical change. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, both Mata and Mr. Kanoktet. Okay. If you guys haven't finished voting for the first round, please do vote. We are closing the vote now. I'm posting the second round of voting of this session now, so you can vote it before we start the second round. Oh, okay, let's vote. So just to remind again, the one on your left hand side is yes. All right. Okay, the link's been sent to the group line, and please do vote now. I will stop the voting now. Um, the support team is still.
Hello, my name is Win, and I will talk about my point. So you said earlier that incremental change is the way to go, right? So here's the thing: you said 20 years ago, people in Thailand were doing logging, but it affects the environment, right? So do we have to wait 100 years for the logging to go away? Um, in 100 years, if we are too late, the environment is already destroyed. We should implement a faster change to combat the problems. Uh, so culture is the way of life, right? So you would rather die instead of change your way of life. You would destroy our future instead of the way of life, right? So here's my point: radical culture change is necessary to make progress. No significant change haven't come with a cost. Significant cultural change is necessary to progress as sustainably. Sustainable development needs massive changes. We cannot be slow in changing stuff. Culture carries on from generation to generation. I understand that. It's like a mouth-to-mouth word that changes with each pass. There's always minor and major changes in the cultures. Culture is a lifestyle choice. In my and there have been many changes in the past. For example, Thailand has gone through many changes in its cultures. If we hadn't accepted those changes, we'd still be in underdeveloped countries. Thinking outside the box, disregarding culture sometimes leads to an unexpected development of the country. Globalization also plays a crucial role in spreading ideas and culture, which often accelerates the development of the country. The world around us changes all the time. We cannot let a subjective things such as culture and way of life hinder our path forward. Everything adapts to go forward. Everything adapts to survive. We have to do so too. We cannot be slow in adaptation. There have been many examples of world cultural change, such as the change of Thai language and tradition to appeal to foreigners, for the reason of trade and ally making, and generally to survive as a nation. If we hadn't made those changes back then, we wouldn't survive as a nation until now. Therefore, I could confidently say that this change is required, and it is urgently required. We cannot be slow in changing our cultures. And that's it.
All right. Okay. Maybe a bit of tips. Maybe you want to speak slower and louder so people can hear what you are. Okay. All right. So for the against team, if you're ready, please.
Hello, I am Sirapop Patala Koshakon. Uh, As a second speaker of the opposition, we disagree with the affirmative statements. Lifestyle is what we almost repeat in every day. We can change or do something in order to make the world sustain, but it doesn't mean it need to be radical change. For example, if we want to save energy to make the world sustain, instead of turn on really low temperature of the air condition, we can open the window or wear the appropriate clothes. This simple change could be a better choice for sustainability rather than a radical change. And as you mentioned that Thailand have a lot of change, and yes, I agree that there are lots of change, but it takes time and have a simple change. Because imagine Thailand 100 years ago and today, it have a huge difference, right? But what about Thailand today and last year, or today and in the last month, which there are have a very small change during time, and also there's some other change come because they need to be changed because people engage with religions or the old culture less than the past, which is doesn't change because of the sustainability. And the last claim that I have is that any problem that ruin and harm the sustainability, the radical change isn't always a solution. It doesn't make sense if we ban plastic bag and straw in order to save the environment. Nowadays, there are biodegradable plastic which can decompose by itself and sippy cup, a glass that designed for drinkable without straw. None of these require radical change because when there are any problems, there always be new solution popping up. That's it.
Okay. The argument is getting hotter and hotter. uh, Wearing appropriate clothes would be a good idea. Okay. So I'm just recently sent you a third round voting for the first session. I already closed the voting for the first two rounds. So if you don't, sorry. Okay. So the third round voting, it's recently um, posted in the group line. So if you want to vote, please do vote now. I give you 5 seconds to vote. The what? Sorry. it closed now. The first, see, section one first round, it's before the actual first round start, right? And then the section one round two is after the first round debating finished. This one, the section one of the round three is actually the one that the round two of the debating finished. So there will be 5 rounds of voting. Okay, maybe make it too confused, right?
โหวตรอบแรก200
Uh,
คนแล้วดูว่าคนเฉยๆแค่ไหนไม่คือเขาโหวตรอบแรกก่อนเว้ยว่าแบบมึงคิดยังไงก่อนเก็ตปะแบบ perspective มึงแบบคิดยังไงไม่รู้ I believe I can fly I believe I can touch
okay, so I do it one more time, right? There will be 5 rounds of voting in each debating session. The first round of voting will be before the debating team actually debate. All right. So if you look at the topic of debating, right? Which one you might support them, you might against them immediately, right? But after the first round of debating, you might change your mind. After the second round of debating, you might change your mind, right? So there'll be 5 voting per one pitching session. The first round will be before the introduction debater debate. All right. Cool. Still confused? Speak up. I see. It's okay. Let it be. Stop doing okay. So if you can, maybe you can want to just okay. Put this way, you guys understand now? Yes, 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 yes. If not, I can explain one more time if you want. Okay, so now we are up to the third round of voting for the first section, right? The third round, the third round, the third round, the third round. Cool. All right. Like I mentioned, when say Kongs and starting to debate, right? The third round of voting that I just recently posted in the group line will not allow you to vote no more. Okay? So each of the round we finish the vote. Each of the round we finish the vote. Okay? Okay. So if you're ready, the response teams of the first ready, take it away.
Okay. Hello, everyone. I'm Therapat Lilahanan. Okay. So, like the opposing team say that changes needs to use lots of times, like 100 years or something. Uh, I would agree to that, but like today, society is become really fast. Like 100 years ago and from now, it's does not exactly the same anymore. So I mean, like if you imagine about the iceberg on the North Pole or South Pole, like 100 years ago, the ice like 100%, but it's quite exponential decrease, like melting fast, very fast, and from now it's continue melting and left only like more than half. So we are not living our life like in the past. So radical changes seems to be true from today's society. And we would like to provide you some more details and example that would help you view the image of radical change in culture easier and clearly. So let me take you back a few years ago. Actually, not few, but long time ago. In the past, people did not buy or sell in order to get exchange. They used barter system, which is the system that exchange with things that are considered as equal or together agree to exchange from both two sides, such as 5 chickens with 1 pig. However, this system is not actually work sometimes, like when both two sides' desires are not met, since sometimes finding the right one should take lots of effort. Second, unmeasurable rate, since there is no tool that could tell you that 5 pig would equal to 1 cow. And transportation problems happen when we have to travel very far for exchange something big, since we have to bring it with ourselves to exchange, and some things that could not separate into small units. So you see, like there is some problems here. So we have to change or develop them. Um, with such obvious problems, the exchange system have developed into more measurable and more convenient for both two sides. Next, we use money system, more measurable and more convenient. Money is determined to be a medium of exchanging things, which society agreed to use. At first, it does not apply to all of exchanges. It would use only when we have exchanged some things that has problems, like previous exchange method. And it's continued like this until now. We could somehow exchange online and have a delivery channel which is safer and convenient than we faced in the past. As for my example of exchange culture, we could see that there is a development along the time from past until now. And after each development stage, our life has become better, more convenient, safe, and more sustainable. This helped our generation a lot. And the exchange system could also be developed more to suit the demand and environment of the next generation. So I think this would help you to understand more about sustainable development that changes in culture. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Kong, if you're ready.
Okay, so we totally agree that the technology changed very fast and we live in very rapid world. But you have also to like believe that technology also develop very fast and technology serve human. As there is human demand, technology will serve to adapt them. Human don't like change, but technology can change to serve human. So for technology advancement, Kanokjet did mention about electric vehicle. So I got to ask someone. So have anyone know about electric vehicle before? So basically, it's just like diesel, but it's just don't move on their own. You have to like push them, and just like dependent maintenance is very better. I asked that as we drive the car, electric vehicle and diesel, is that really change? For me it's not. Like basically in daily life it's nothing changing, just the car that change. Our life doesn't change. Change is from the organization part, which is just small size compared to the lifestyle part. The organization have to change, adapt to the people want. So as Mata mentioned that there is like 3 part 4 part actually of like the culture. First is belief, way of life, and art, and the last one is social organization. So this part is very small to compare to like belief and way of life, and art cut it out. I don't want to say about that. As Clear said that Sirapop, the second speaker said, uh, sustainability development is not something that complex, but it's rather something that simple. We cannot live our life without damaging this world. It's not about just environment. It's also about people. So as we live, how can we damage the earth as little as possible? It's impossible not to damage them. We also take time to like develop, as he said. It's impossible to just like, okay, here is like public car and you have to go on that to make it sustain. It's ruin culture. We have like 4 part of sustainability that we have to consider, not just the environment part. So saying that is radical change, yes, it is. But as the time go by, it's have to like a little change over time. Cyril Pope said that 100 years ago and today, we see a lot of change. How about 10 years ago? How about 5 years ago? Years ago? If there is no coronavirus, my life will basically be the same. So as time passed, we doesn't detect any change. So I have some time left. Um, okay, so talk about the EV thing and Loi Krathong. So Loi Krathong, as we know that this damage a lot of is is damage the environment. But July have used like the recycle thing, which I consider as innovation. It's not that technology advancement, but human adaptation. I asked someone in here, like Loi Krathong, the traditional one, the with the what they say, the baitong thing, yeah, and the candle thing. Is it changed that much? It's the material change, not people. People still the same. Thank you.
All right. Okay. Thank you so much for the good debate. Right. I just recently post the next round of voting to the group line, so please do vote now. Yes. A, the support team. B, against team. Good. All right. So now we're moving up to the last debater of each team. So if you guys finish voting, if I'll will please take it away. I will stop voting for the fourth round in 10 seconds. Counting now. Ang Pa, when you're ready, please take it away.
Hello, my name is Chayapat Warahan. I'm here to, so I will wrap up what my fellow friends have told. According to my team's standpoints, we have this argument to support our point of view. Firstly, everyone has to choose their best thing for themselves, right? So, thus, change in sustainable development will make human life have seen much improvement. Uh, we can put this example like in petrol car and electric car. We changed from petrol car to electric car because we need to reduce our costs, which can improve our life. As a result, as a human life, people will always try to seek out for their best. Next, radical change is required because there is no change that hasn't come with a cost. Everything has its own price, and one of the price towards sustainable development is cultural change. People will have to choose between culture and quality of life for their family and close friends. Culture is a human activity. Therefore, we should keep changing it to be consistent with the development. Therefore, sustainable development requires a radical change in culture. Thank you.
You still have 3.5 minutes left.
I have one more example. Like during the COVID session, before the COVID, you don't know what will gonna happen. Like when the COVID hit, you are unprepared, so you don't know what you need to do. That's um um so you need to like you need to adapt to the situation that happened. For example, like you need to wear masks, do like the adaptation of social distancing, and you need to follow the procedure. Thank you.
Okay.
ได้ประมาณนี้แหละ
Still 2 more minutes left, but do you have anything to conclude?
No,
All right. If you're ready, the concluder of the against team. If you're ready, please take it away.
So to recap, there's like three words that we want you to understand the meaning before deciding which side you want to agree on. So those three words are sustainability. There are four frameworks to consider. Is is that country sustain enough? So the first one is economic, political, environmental, and culture. And those all those four factors need to be balanced. And the next words that we want you to understand is culture. So basically the meaning of the culture is our lifestyle. And the last one is radical. So radical means fast and affecting the fundamental nature of something. So next, I want to wind up the reason that my teammate said. So the first reason that sustainability need to be simple. So I want to talk about the classifying the waste. I want you guys to ask yourself: is classify the waste is that that different from just like throwing the trash into the one trash can? No, it's not. So and the next reason that I want to talk about is the tech advance. So the key in this section is about the quote that I want to say is the demand increase is there going as the demand increase they are going to be the one who supply it, and as they are problem they are going to be the one that who solve it. So same as Mata said in the beginning, we can change the logoton material from the traditional material that harm the environment to the candle that made of candle. So the even the katong that made of candle is like a little more expensive, but people are gonna use it. And the last reason that I want to talk about is time. That it is true that it would be radical if we completely change to like our life to be fully sustainable, but the process is not the instant. In the real world, the process take a little change over the time that even the people won't notice. So to conclude, the all reason that we said is why we choose to oppose the idea that it is radical to change to be sustainable. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Can you please give them a big applause for the first meeting session, sir? Um, first section, round five. So, my, okay. Uh, together, please. All right, if you guys ready, I already sent you the second session of voting first round to the group line. Please do vote if you are either support or against in the topic of should we teach free market globalization and GDP to become more sustained. All right, the support team will be Miss Natcha, Mr. Housing, Kitipat, three of you on the support teams right here on your left hand side of the class. The against team will be Miss Natnisha, คุณพลวันจีดาภา and คุณพันสิตา please come forward as the against team please. Don't forget to vote the first round of this second session first because the voting will be finished in just right before the debate start. Okay, so the voting will be closed now for the first round. So the support team, if you ready, please take it away.
Okay. Good morning. My name is Kritapat Panperm Jaranikit. The debate topic is should we ditch free market globalization and GDP to become more sustainable? Me and my team strongly agree that we should ditch free market globalization and GDP so we could be more sustainable. First, GDP refers to the market value of the final goods and service products in a country over a period of time. For decades, GDP is just a number to measure the strength of the country, and so does free market globalization. Since everybody has the right to choose what to produce and consume, it contributes to economic growth. On the contrary, economic growth is often associated with environmental degradation, as the economic progress to expand means the more resource and being consumed, which led to the big environmental impact we are facing severely today. Having GDP to evaluate the country economic growth without taking Earth's limited resource and population well-being into consideration and without being aligned with the aspect of sustainability which turned out as a not so beautiful ending to our country instead. And do you know that the world's wealthiest country need to consume on average 416 kilograms of materials and 111 kilograms of energy product to generate about $1,000 of GDP, according to the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. The Inclusive Wealth Report of 2018 shows that 44 out of 140 countries have suffered a decline in inclusive wealth per capita, despite GDP per capita increase in nearly all of the country access. And this means that these 44 countries are not on a path to sustainable development, even if their economics, according to GDP, appear to be growing. Ultimately, GDP is not a measure of human well-being and doesn't reflect a nation's welfare. We can achieve prosperity without fast-moving economic growth that free market globalization and GDP promote. We should, without a doubt, urge the world to ditch free market globalization and GDP to become more sustainable, look beyond it, and instead focus on well-being. If we focus less on economic growth rate, but focus on sustainable, the environmental results will be last long. Ditching economic doesn't help the world. Ditching economic still don't have all of the people. It's true that it helps improve life quality better for just some group, but not everyone. Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. The motion for today's debate is should we ditch the free market, globalization, and GDP to become more sustainable? Firstly, I would like to say we disagree with the idea that free market and GDP should be ditched for becoming more sustainable. So in this speech, I will give the aspect and reason why we shouldn't ditch them and prove that they can assure sustainability development. Beginning with the definition of free market, which the affirmative team mentioned it before, but I will make it more clear. The, the free market is an economic system based on supply and demand with little or without a government intervention. Key feature of the free market is the absence of forces and conditions on transactions. Moreover, free market has generally positive relationship between free market and measures of economic well-being. Moving on to the definition of sustainability, according to the official definition of sustainable development of Berlin Report, sustainable development is the idea that human societies must live and meet their needs without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. Especially, sustainable development is a way for society to be structured so it can exist in the long term. It means taking it into account of both imperative present and those of the future, such as the preservation of environment and natural resources or social and economic equity. In support against the affirmative statement, I would like to present the idea of free market environmentalism. Free market environmentalism is a concept that emphasizes markets as a solution for environmental problems. Research from Library of Economics shows that the free market can be more successful than system of government and have been more successful historically in solving many environmental problems. While environmental problems may be viewed as market failure, free market environmentalists argue that environmental problems arise because the state encourages, provided, and enforces law, which override and obscure property rights and thus fail to protect them adequately. Secondly, if the technological and legal context in which people operate, transaction costs are too high to allow parties to negotiate a solution better for the environment. And lastly, laws governing class and individual tort claim provide polluter with immunity from tort claim and or interfere those claims in such a way as to make it difficult to legally sustain them. To summarize the idea of free market environmentalism, I think that process of the free market environmentalism may not seem like a sustainable solution, but if the core concept is studied in depth, it will be known that the product produced in highly competitive economic system like free market, as a result, the product will have the highest quality, making the result of free market a sustainable product. And for the definition of GDP or gross domestic product is the total monetary of or market value of all finished goods and services produced within country border in a specific time period. GDP is also a key tool to guide policymakers, investors, and businesses in strategic decision making. Apart from that, GDP has many benefits on the economy that is easy to measure and compare growth in percentage, and it's a good way and it's a good way for government to know whether economic policy has been successful or not. So it will be easy to improve the policy. Lastly, GDP may not be directly related to sustainability. However, it is a good measurement for extent of economic activity of the nation. Therefore, why is it necessary to ditch GDP since it does not have a negative impact on sustainable development? And I think GDP is fine to debate if false, but we need to give alternative much thorough going before we abandon it as a measure of success. At the moment, GDP remains the best guide to economic prosperity that we've got now. Thank you.
You just recently sent the second round voting for the second session. Live, please. It's good. It's over. You have plenty of time. Good. All right. So you guys this morning, Lemon, voting now. Okay. Good. All right. So I will start the movement round for the second session. I will close voting for the third round now. All right. Getting ready.
Hello. As our first speaker said, we should be ditching free market globalizations and GDP for exchange for sustainability. In order for you all to understand well and in detail, me and my group members came up with 3 points that strongly approve that why we should give up on free market and GDPs. First of all, free markets often leads to primary objective of earning more profits. In many cases, companies may sacrifice worker safety, environmental standards, and ethical behavior to achieve those profits. At this point, producers in free markets are driven exclusively by their profit motive. In 2010, the Deepwater Horizon oil spill was reported globally one of the largest and most consequential environment disaster in USA and human history. It was due to a private companies' incautious care on using substandard cement and other cost-reducing measures in order to reach optimized profit. In accordance with this incident, 780,000 cubic meter or 210 million gallons of oil was spilled at the Gulf of Mexico, causing the death of 250,000 seabirds and up to 4,000 marine mammals, while excluding environmental impacts. On the economic side, free markets globalization is likely to experience market failure. When a free market economy spins out of control, the consequence can be severe. From the Great Depression of the 1930s to the real estate market crash of 2008, market failure have devastated the lives of millions in lost income, unemployment, and homelessness. Many of these failures have stemmed from those seeking short-term profits over slow and steady gains, usually aided by loose credit, highly leveraged assets, and minimal government interventions. On the other hand, free market globalization might be beneficial toward freedom of innovation. However, innovating with freedom comes with a price of limiting legalizations, meaning that while business owners innovate new ideas, develop new products, and offer new services, criminals and other black markets are also offered with more spaces of delivering and trading inappropriate or illegal goods, such as firearms, drugs, and prostitutions. Yes, country's GDP might increase significantly, but it also puts a country in a position with higher crime rates and potentially risk of citizens' health and well-being. United States of America, the world's largest economic market, with a crime index of 47.7. It's also the highest crime-rated country among all the developed and economic-centered countries. According to the Pew Research Center, it is estimated that U.S. civilians own 393 million firearms, and that's 42% of the household in the country have at least one gun. Furthermore, nearly 40,000 Americans who died of gun-related injuries in 2017 marked a 19% increase from 2012, directly related to the starting of free market globalization and increase of GDP. Those are the stands for why we should ditch free market globalizations. Thank you.
That's all. Okay, so I just said that morning for the second session. So it's ready with the second. Don't forget this one is team A, this is team B. This one for supporting team. Okay. Alright. Okay. If you guys have finished voting, then we will start the response round of the second session. Um, Sacha, if you oh, sorry, my bad. Okay, no, no.
Okay.
My bad. Sorry.
Well, so we believe that we should not abolish the free market system as it supports the business and entrepreneurs to free pursue profits through creativity and innovation. With this, sustainable development is assured. Sustainability supporters tend not to focus their arguments on the basis of liberty, equality, or economic efficiency. Instead, they push a collection of anti-free market ideas and have made and have made up the core agenda of the major environmental advocacy groups. There is no empirical or historical evidence that any generation has been less prosperous than the previous generations as a result of overuse of resources by the previous generations. In fact, the evidence is exactly opposite. It is the resource uses of the previous generations that provides prosperous opportunities that they would not have otherwise had. When resources are privately owned and the owners are allowed to use them for profit in the market exchange and production of goods and services, a number of incentives come into play. These incentives ensure that known resources will be efficiently and sustainably allocated from generation to generation, and they facilitate the discovery of additional resources. And this does not simply mean additional supplies of known resources, but the transformation of what were considered to be useless aspect of nature into something valuable. Moreover, the elements of nature that we consider to be valuable resources have not always had these properties, since nothing found in nature is a resource to itself. It is the human mind that transformed these natures into resources. In fact, many resources were considered to be valuable today were once considered to be worthless or even have negative value in the past. When resources come into market exchange and are used as a part of the profit generating market process, they are economized in such a way that their sustainable use is guaranteed. In fact, the world has never run out of a resource that is privately owned and whose allocation and distribution through time comes under the discipline of free-flowing price system. The point is that the market ensures the economically sustainable use. If the resource truly become more scarce in the economic sense, then its price will rise. There will be more response on both supply and demand side of the market. On the supply side, the higher price of the resource will make the alternatives that has been too expensive more attractive. If new technology allows the production of the same output while using less resources, this will make it less scarce. On the demand side, the higher price will encourage efficient levels of conservation. This is the reason why entrepreneurs are motivated to innovate due to the demand of the customers. Higher prices and the possibility for profitable investment would unleash entrepreneurial creativity. If certain resources do become more scarce over time, consumers will be conscious to conserve more intensely, and to entrepreneurs and investors to seek out new technology and alternatives. With a free market, there will be competition among the firms based on the supply demand with minimal government intervention. This will encourage companies to strive for better goods services, which will increase the economic growth. As said by Dr. Roy Cordedo from the John Locke Foundation, so long as there is a free market system where prices are allowed to fluctuate and entrepreneurs are free to pursue profits through creativity and innovation, sustainable development is assured. This increase the goods and services production and exchanges will result in a rise of GDP, which indicates the nation economy to be moving forward in a solid shape. Higher GDP equates to the greater human progress. GDP has a clear purpose. It is a measure of the production of final goods, its distribution, and its use through the final demand. It is useful for practical economists on a day-to-day work that is incomplete. It is a scientific concept. Replacing the world's growth model and reliance on GDP as a barometer of success is challenging. Government debt is always measured in relation to the size of the economy and to assess how sustainable nation finances are. Without such a benchmark, it could become harder for countries to finance their activities, and it is hard to remove GDP unless alternatives are provided with sufficient personnel to stimulate it. According to Alfie Sterling, head of the economics at the New Economics Foundation think tank, the solution is not to find one better metrics, it is just to use more metrics, indicates that even with alternative metrics, it cannot be used without reliance on a GDP. Instead, it is just an addition to the GDP. So, government should improve the incentives that drive entrepreneurial activity to create more opportunities for the greater economic dynamism in order to ensure sustainability. So, if we abolish the free market, how can business be competitive with each other to increase economic growth? And how can we ensure that it will be more sustainable than the free market? Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Like a machine gun, yeah? Okay. So now it's time to vote for the second round, or the third round of the second session. I'm so sorry for my mistake. All right. Open up for another 10 seconds of voting. All right. If you can finish the voting already, then we might move on to the responsive round of this debate session. From the support team, Ms. Natcha, if you're ready, please take it away. Oh, Henry again? Okay. Henry, take it away.
As you have said, there's a part saying that increase of supplies and demands will lead to for better GDP and better development of the country. But for instance, increase of supply and demand also will risk the country into experiencing of market failure, as I said on previous. And at the same time, you have said the government should not be involved in business innovating progress, and that leads to which will be tax free. That's gonna be that would be good for like most of the people thinking that tax free is a advantage for them. But here's a fact about tax free. Being tax free does not mean anything better in the bigger view for a country in short term or long term. But paying tax helps to ensure the roads that you travel are safe and well maintained. Taxes fund public libraries and parks. Taxes are also used in fund many type of government programs that help the poor and less fortunate, as well as many schools. After all, it's all coming back to the beginning to be more sustainable and big and obtaining more living qualities and gaining more human rights. Thank you.
Wow, that's quick. Are you sure? Henry? Sure? Okay. Henry, are you sure finished? Like, okay. Okay. Okay, cool. All right. Then we move to the against team. If you're ready, please take it away. Speak slowly.
Okay. Hi. For my reason that we shouldn't ditch the free market is that the free market makes the economics run fast because of the high competition. This affects the improvement of many parts, and the concept of free market environmentalism will support sustainability. Free markets are the most robust mechanism ever devised by humanity for delivering rapid feedback on how decisions turn out. Profits and losses discipline people to learn quickly and fix their mistakes. Consequently, markets are superb at using trial and error to find solutions and problems. There is only one proven way to improve the lot of hundreds of millions of poor people, and that is democratic capitalism. It is in democratic capitalist countries that the air and water are become cleaner, forests are expanding, food is abundant, education is universal, and women's rights respected. Whatever slow down economic growth also slow down environmental improvement. By vastly increasing knowledge and pursuing technological progress, past generations meet their needs and vastly increase the ability of our generation to meet our needs. We should do not let, do no less for future generations. This interest in free market environmentalism is somewhat ironic because environmental problems have often been seen as a form of market failure. See public goods and externalities. In the traditional view, many environmental problems are caused by decision makers who reduce their costs by polluting those who are downwind or downstreams. Other environmental problems are caused by private decision makers' inability to produce public goods, such as preservation of one species, because no one has to pay to get the benefits of this preservation. While these problems can be quite real, growing evidence indicates that governments often fail to control pollution or to provide public goods at reasonable cost. Furthermore, the private sector is often more responsive than government to environmental demands. This evidence, which is supported by much economic theory, has led to a reconsideration of the traditional view. Moreover, there are environmental entrepreneurs or enviropreneurs who create products, services, or market platforms that help solve environmental problems. Enviropreneurs create tools that enhance conservation and generate the revenues to pay for it, such as smart technologies to reduce energy consumption or market platforms that harness private investment to reduce wildfire risk. This entrepreneurial spirit solution based on coming together through trades have have not only avoided or mitigated community battles or environmental degradation, but have also revealed numerous opportunities for environmental gains. As environpreneur will focus on environmental problems directly, they can get a better and faster solution for sustainability than the government, which had other responsibility to deal with. However, this does not mean that private organizations will solve all environmental problems. Where property rights are not existent, ill-defined, or unenforceable, there will be no owner to insist on protection. Rather than abandoning private management in favor of direct governmental control, we should try to find ways to establish accountability along with the freedom and incentive to innovate by establishing or strengthening property rights. Another point that I have mentioned about the concept of free market environmentalism or FME, which means unregulated voluntary trades that produce good environmental outcome. The examples of the concept are making fabric out of used plastic and creating energy from landfill waste. As you can see, these two examples are related to waste management, which is one of the idea of sustainable development. In conclude, we should not dish free market globalization, but let the government take action to the use of limited natural resources by strengthening property rights and common laws. Thank you. And if the free market should be dished, what other economic system will be able to increase economic growth with minimal sustainable impact that the free market environmentalism? Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much for the responsive round. I just recently sent the vote of second session voting to the group line. Please do vote the team that you like. Team A is a support team, and Team B is against team. One more time. And we move to the to the summary round of the second session of this debating. Okay, you can finish voting now? Yes? Okay, cool. So if you ready, Miss Nacha, take it away.
To wrap it up, we're gonna show you some recent happened cases to show how important it is to ditch free market globalization and GDP. As all of you have acknowledged that 2020 wasn't a good year for most of the people when corona pandemic suddenly happened. Companies around the world that's in the free market found opportunities to earn money by selling people the medical mask. Since their objective is to earn profit, the companies that's in the free market decided to increase the cost of facial masks in order to gain more profit while people around the world are suffering with the COVID infections caused by the mass product price of these face masks produced by the manufacturers. Only if the global market is restricted. Manufacturers will not be allowed to increase the price as much as they did. So in that case, the facial mask and other preventing equipments will be more affordable for the public and the human race. With all these affordable prevention equipment, there will surely be not as much as people who die from the virus. Having a free market that turns their back on human rights, then what's the point of expanding the free market? The growth of GDP is supposed to increase our living quality, but now it's turning its back on the human rights. Then why don't we ditch the free market and GDP and focus on our living quality and sustainability of our human race? From this, free market companies can mark up price for the facial mask and lower income people may not be able to afford it. It will be cause higher rate of infections and leading to higher death rate. However, if the government restrict the free market, this wouldn't happen and facial masks could be afforded. In addition, free market limitations can be seen with the poor quality since profit maximization is the biggest motivation for firms. They try to reduce the cost unethically. In many cases, the drive for profit maximization actually incentivizes unethical behavior. Examples of harmful effects of unethical cost reduction measures including polluting the environmental and exploiting overworking, underpaying, preventing workers from unionizing workers. Government intervention is necessary to limit these harms. And relating to what Henry previously said about the market failure, unemployment and inequality in a free market economy, certain members of society will not be able to work, such as the elderly, children, or others who are unemployed because their skills are not marketable. They will be left behind by the economy at large and without any income will fall into poverty. The caretakers will also be left out of the economy because they will not be paid for their necessary caretaking work. Sustainability is not a choice but a necessity. Sustainability is important for many reasons, including environmental quality. In order to have a healthy communities, we need clean air, natural resources, and a non-toxic environment. Sustainability aims to use our resources efficiently to benefit our campus and community. Ditch free market globalization and GDP for the greater life and better rights of human beings. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Cha. The summarized person in the against team, if you're ready, please take it away. Yes.
To sum up, I can explain that free market globalization doesn't need to be dismissed for sustainability. Sustainability indices are linked with the KOF Globalization Index to understand if more globalized countries are performing better in terms of sustainable development and its dimensions, especially environmental sustainability. The results reveal that globalization has a positive implication in the overall perspective. Next to the GDP importance, it is fine to debate its flaws, but we need to give alternatives over before we abandon it. As a measure of success at the moment, it remains the best guide to economic prosperity that we've got. Two reasons for GDP prevalence. The first is that other measures are flawed. Moreover, the surrounding statistical evidence can imply that how to measure wealth inequity is not something that is easily agreed upon. Second, it is not clear that it would give a deeper insight into economic well being. The first reason which we argue is that the free market promotes the production and sales of goods and services without the control of the government. It supports the cut of management and red tape. Innovation lets them study consumer demands, research popular trends to meet consumers' needs, and it is also broadens contention among businesses. During supplies go into market exchange and are used as part of the profit generating market process, they are saved in such a way that their sustainable use is guaranteed. There would be responses on both supply and demand sides of the market. On the supply side, the higher prices of the resource will make the choices that had been too expensive more interesting. On the other hand, the demand side, higher price will comfort effective levels of conservation. This reason makes entrepreneurs driven to innovate due to the expectation of customers. Higher prices and the possibility for gainful investing would release commercial creativity. There will be competition among the firms based on the supply and demand with minimal government involvement with the free market. This encourages companies to compete for better products which increase economic growth. So government should support the business and entrepreneurs to economize resources for a sustainable use. The other reason that we shouldn't ditch the free market is that the free market causes economy to run fast because of the high competition. This affects the improvement of many parts and the concept of free market environmentalism will support sustainability. Environmental problems have often been seen as a form of market failure. Many problems are caused by decision makers. Furthermore, the private sector is often more awake than government to environmental demands. These solutions have not only avoided community battles and environmental degradation, but have also revealed numerous opportunities for gains, as they will focus on the environmental problem directly so they can get a better and faster solution for sustainability. To sum up, we should not ditch free market globalization, but let the government take action to the use of limited natural resources by hardening property rights and common law. So all the reason above I can access that to abandon GDP and free market are not the solution to make globalization become more sustainable. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. So I just recently sent a link to vote your favorite teams for the final round of the second session, right? Um, so how was the debating today? Good. Let's do one more pictures one more times, and then. Can I borrow your Okay. If you guys are ready, we'll come back for the third section of the debating session today. Um, this third section topic will be: should we turn our back on conventional agricultures and meat or not? All right. On the support team, we have Mr. Pasu, Mr. Pusin, Mr. Deshathon, and Ms. Tanyathon. And woo, okay, good. And against team, we have Kun Pongsapat, Kun Natapon, Kun Onpriya, and Mr. Tiger. All right. Okay. I just recently sent the voting link to your group line. So if you agree with we should turn our back on conventional agricultures and meat, please support Team A. If you think that we shouldn't, oh no, that's wrong. Yes, the support team will be Team A and the against team will be Team B. All right. Um, okay. So you can start voting now. If you're ready, if the debating teams are ready, Mr. Pasu, please take it away.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Today, our team will be arguing that we should turn our back on conventional agriculture and meat. Let's begin with defining the terms. Conventional agriculture, according to Appropriator, is the system which includes use of synthetic chemical fertilizers, pesticides, and herbicides, and also others continual inputs, genetically modified organisms, concentrated animal feeding operations, heavy irrigations, intensive tillage, or concentrated monoculture productions. In reality, conventional agriculture is such a harmful, not sustainable, and obsolete ways of agriculture. Our team will be discussing how much negative impacts that conventional agriculture has on our world and people. We will also propose alternative agriculture that offers advantages over conventional agriculture, and at the end, showing the strong argument why conventional agriculture is no longer necessary and should not be used anymore. Today, as a first speaker, I'll be talking to you about negative effects that conventional agriculture has on human health. My friends, our second speaker will be presenting about the impact of conventional agriculture to environment and biosystem. Our third speaker will be speak in perspective of ethics that conventional agriculture disregards. And lastly, our last speaker will be talking about the possibilities that sustainable agriculture will be success in this market as regards the new coming investment for the future. Ladies and gentlemen, it has been over 70 years that conventional agriculture harm people and environment. There is a statistics from UN report showing that over 200,000 people died each year from pesticide poisonings. This is a direct catastrophic impact from conventional agricultures that use synthetic chemical of pesticides and insecticides to maintain plants. Another dark part of conventional agriculture is the use of antibiotics, which account up to 70% of animal farms in US. The antibiotics are often used to rapid growth promotions in livestock and also to prevent illness and sickness in animals that live in unhealthy conditions of conventional farming. There is also a report from BMC veterinaries states that overuse and misuse of antibiotics in meat industry is contributing to the rise of antibiotics resistance in US and also across the world. This serious public health issues causes 20,000 deaths each year. Moreover, the large-scale use of antibiotics in the livestock farmings and agricultural pesticides of fertilizer increase the risk of groundwater contaminations, resulting in various health problems in human populations. Accelerated and cumulative misalignments, a condition of human biologies, and modern industrial society is responsible for the increase of death due to non-communicable chronic disease such as obesity, um, diabetes, and also cancer. This imposes a burden on agriculture and health systems, threatening the economic viabilities in government organizations and civil societies of low and middle income countries worldwide. With the concern above, it can be seen that conventional agriculture is such a reckless way of farming. So, ladies and gentlemen, is it time for the world to change for a better future of mankind by stopping this harmful, not sustainable, and obsolete ways of agriculture? Thank you.
Okay. Questions on you.
Okay. Hello, my name is Natapon Trithejayagun, and I am the first speaker of the against team. I would now like to make a correction to the few points made by our opposition. The opposition has said that the conventional method would harm human health. First of all, I must say that I disagree with your statement about the pesticide, poison, antibiotics, and also the GM food or the genetic. The first thing that I disagree with you is that conventional agriculture is harmful for health. These concerns have proven to be unfound. None of the GE food used today has caused any of these problems. The US Food and Drug Administration or FDA assess all the GE foods to make sure that they are safe before allowing them to be sold. I understand your statement, but genetic engineering or GE it is the modification of an organic prototype by altering its genetic makeup. It could also be used to reduce pesticide usage. Moreover, benefit of the genetic engineering in agriculture are also increased crop yield, reduce costs in food and drug production, resistance of the pest and disease, greater food security, and also more nutrient and tastier food. Nowadays, like farming has enabled human population to dominate the world landscape in many thousands of years. As community as the community grows, land, less and less land is available for the food productions, and existing crop become easily exhausted. In addition, agricultural productions has increased worldwide over the last century. Many agricultural techniques exist today. Conventional farming or industrial farming as delivery huge gain in productivity and efficiency. It provides 98.9% in the world of food at the present. The history of conventional farming, first agriculture have been like found around roughly 10,000 years ago when humans first discovered the potential of planting seed, long called intensive agriculture. Conventional agriculture was born in Europe in the First World War. It represents the problems of the time of the lack of manpower, following the inhibition and death of large parts of the rural population. It relied on parallels to increase oilseed production. It is introduced in the production method. Over the few century, many countries have made the shift toward conventional methods. Factors such as growing populations, economic instability, climate change, and also the pressure from the company to produce a higher yield to contribute to this shift. The food productions worldwide has risen in the past 15 years, as the World Bank estimates between 70% and 90% of the recent increase in food productions are the result of the conventional agriculture. Today, the contracting population believes like 98 98% the farm worldwide have operating area in less than 2 hectares, and 50% of the food consumed in the world comes a small family farm. According to the definitions from the Oxford Dictionary, conventional farming is the practice of using modern methods to grow crops and help the farmer produce it consistently every year. Conventional farming system are really like farm to farm and farm country to country. The goals of conventional agriculture is to first maximize yield. Secondly, they have to the environment health and also preserve the biodiversity. This benefits a lot in, for example, they can conventional system farmer will design entire field to just one crop, which create like uniformity. And this uniformity is ideal because it reduces labor costs and make the harvesting easy. As the first speaker of the against team today, I will introduce our team argument and tell you the organic way of doing agriculture should not be replaced by conventional way. And our second and third speaker will continue to argument and on discussing on how conventional agriculture can improve production and living condition. Our team will touch upon the advantage in conventional farming and why people still prefer conventional way of farming, which include increasing the food production, provide job opportunities, lowering cost of productions, minimize the land of use, decrease the carbon emission, and also regulating the new usage of sufficient pesticides. And our four speakers will summarize that the opposition to leave that they should not turn our back on conventional agriculture and meat. Um, okay, conventional biodynamic and like reason farming agriculture. These are different types of agriculture that have appeared on the meat very neat. The fully understanding in each method is fully look on their origin and development context, on their impact on time and our way of life. As the way they said, like conventional agriculture was born to fulfill our needs of lack of manpower and also following of the death of the large part of the rural population, as we say. The development of alternative methods of agriculture productions and increase in productions compared to what intensive model call. The advantage of the conventional one is use the chemical in agriculture and makes it possible to artificial crops. The fertilizer, as the other team say, is stimulate the nutrients input regardless the climate and soil type. Insecticides and fungi sanitize environment and eliminate the pests and decrease that all endangered crops. Agriculture is simple and accessible to everyone. Wherever in environment it is enough to strictly follow the treatment instructions. So finally, this agriculture method has allowed the democratization of the consumption to meet our daily product. Thank you.
All right, excellent, excellent. Okay, so I'm posting the voting poll for the second round in the third session. Just give me a minute. All right, the link has been posted. If you ready, please vote your favorite team A or B. It is actually a good argument that you built up for the first introduction part. All right, if you can finish voting, then I move on to the second person of the first team, Team A, Mr. Dechathon. If you're ready, please take it away.
So before starting, I would like to rebut what you have start in the use of the chemical for the products. So even though the US have regulation on the use of chemicals, before being sold, the products shipped to other countries where regulation are not harsh. These products have been sprayed with the chemicals for it to remain fresh as well as also pesticides. Then they are later shipped to the US, so as a result, US citizens still have pesticides remains. So as the second speaker, I have responsibility to talk about the environmental factors. So when we talk in terms of how conventional agriculture and meat affects specific to the environmental terms, there are many factors which the elements and the process in conventional farming can be able to destroy the biosystem and will affect in the long terms. For the first point, landscape and soil are one of the elements and resources that important to produce the products in terms of the agriculture and meat. An estimated 99.7% of the calories we eat derived from the soils, and according to our research, most estimated indicate the most farm areas of the world have about 60 years left before the is gone. One of the reasons is by using the conventional agriculture, which called the monocultures. The meaning of this is to plant the way is to plant only one species of an organism, such as the corn, wheat, or rice in the same landscape continually. The same plants have been grown in the same lands mean that minerals, that kind of plant use will be gone. That will affect by decrease the nutrients, minerals, and the proteins from the earth that the plants rely on. They're unable to support healthy growth, and that forces the farmer to use the chemical fertilizers to encourage plant growth and food production. And that will affect to the second point that I want to consider. Water that came out of the farm has been contaminated by the chemical fertilizers. Also, the water inside the system has been wasted since there is no cycle of water used in the conventional farming, and that will affect to the overall pictures of the environmental in terms of the water pollutions. Although the short term, the use of chemical substances seems effective, but in the long run, the quality of soils and water will be diminished. Have to keep using more and more chemicals in the next crop and products, and it will be even more expensive every year. Also, the last thing that I want to mention is about the meat productions, which produced from the conventional farm. By using the chemical to increase the growth rate of the animal will affect the environments by the waste of the animal that left from them. It will affect dirtiness and smell, which are contaminated by the chemical process and be able to blend it to the environments in the bad ways. So, is there any ways that will be more beneficial and be able to replace the old-fashioned way of conventional agriculture and meat? Yes, of course. So, what I have said above about the monoculture, which will destroy the quality of the soils, biodiversity is the better way to work on it instead. The definition of the biodiversity in terms of agriculture is by growing the different species of plants and rotating continually. Biodiversity is able to create a sustainable farming and environments. Nature has its ways of sustaining and enhancing plantation and farming. It is also proven to be more effective in terms of enriching the quality of soils and depth by the quality of farming. By adopting the technologies to the farm is more sustainable way than the conventional way. The technologies today are more accessible and proven to be effective. Control the temperatures and moisture as well as the number of organic fertilizers to be used. Technologies can also be used to measure the growth rate of the product or in the animal farming as well. They will also allow us to increase the farm productivities and enhance the value of the products. Lastly is about the meat productions. Mostly from the conventional farm products cannot be sold at a premium since they are not green. Most of the time, they will be sold at a discount. I don't see any disadvantages by feeding the animal by the grain and the organic foods, taking care of them, and let them have a good living. This will benefit the outcome of the environments around the animal by reducing the elimination of chemical waste from the animals. Also, I still can clearly see the potential of the customer who are willing to buy organic meat and products rather than buy the non-organic products. Thank you.
All right, Eshaton, cool. Okay, so Tiger will switch the position, right? Next, Tiger, if you're ready.
Okay, I'm Shahan Wu Tiger. There's always a reason why families, domestic families or restaurants choose to purchase conventionally grown plants or livestock. And that reason is being it is cheaper and it's easier to have it. An organic label is not straightforward guarantee of the most environmentally friendly product. Organic farms are 20% less efficient than conventional farms. Both conventional farms and organic farming both emit a certain amount of carbon, hands down for sure. Organic farming produces more carbon emissions than traditional methods because it takes up a significantly larger space to produce, and with a bigger amount of land use, it results in more carbon being emitted, and it results in carbon being stored in the soil. So tell me how organic is better than conventional with soil. As for carbon, I would like to add up to the livestocks. Long living cattle belch out more methane, which is also especially a powerful greenhouse gas. And you also mentioned about the usage of pesticides. To be honest, both organic farming and conventional farming relies on pesticides to protect crops from weeds, pests, and disease. Pesticides are really important. They help farmers grow more food on less land by protecting crops from pests, disease, and weeds, as well as raising productivity. In fact, between 26 and 40% of the world's potential crop production is lost annually because of weeds, pests, and disease. Without crop protection, these losses could be easily doubled. As an alternative, we propose farmers can cut 2/5 of their pesticides use and would lose no production and actually have higher productivity. To prove my point, in 2017, a group of French scientists researched on whether lowering the use of pesticides will affect productivity and profitability. A significant pesticide reduction of 42% was effective on almost 60% of farms. It concluded that pesticide reduction did not threaten the financial and food security as we previously perceived. Also, as for land use, organic farming requires wider usage of land in order to generate the same volume amount of crops compared to conventional farming. With higher demand of land comes a higher rate of deforestation. Deforestation then causes higher carbon dioxide emissions. Research has proven that if England and Wales were to go 100% organic, they will raise their country carbon emissions by 56%. On top of that, University of Cambridge summarizes that more intensive agriculture that use less land may also produce fewer pollutants, cause less soil loss, and consume less water. As for livestock, since organic meat and milk production, they require organic feedstock, then then at the same time, it'll require more land for conventional production. You also mentioned about water quality. To be honest, organic farming measurements of the nitrate concentrations in the root zone beneath the organic greenhouse were extremely high, averaging 357 milligrams per liter, with peak of NO3 concentrations reaching 724 milligrams per liter. To sum up, conventional systems had lower labor requirements per unit product, lower income risk per animal, higher production per animal per time unit, higher production numbers, lower feed conversion ratio, lower land use, generally lower acidification and eutrophication potential per unit product. equal or better other health for cows and equal or lower microbiological contamination. These are all advantages of how conventional farming and livestock can sustain the global economy and environment in a more well-rounded way. That concludes my part. Thank you.
All right, Tiger. Thank you. Thank you. But this is not personal, right, Tiger? No. Okay, that's good. Yes, I thought it's frightening. All right, I just posted a link to vote for the third round of this session. So please do vote now. 10 seconds. 5, 4, 3. No, 10 seconds more.
Yeah, I'm putting on.
All right, cool. If you finish voting, let's do the third round of debating session. Ms. Thanathorn, if you're ready, please take it away.
First, start with the thing that your team mentioned about genetic engineering. So there are benefits of genetic engineering, but there are also some risks. So genetic engineering is transfer of the selected gene into other species. So it is not ethical to the nature because what's benefit on one plant may harm others, such as pollen produced by the plants could be toxic and harm insects that transfer between plants. And also the crop seeds are often more expensive. And this is not benefit to the farmers because some people in developing countries cannot afford them. And also they can't produce their own seeds and it will not be sustained. And also this could be harmful because it could cause allergic reaction in people too. And for the cost of conventional farming, that is cheaper than the organic way. There is the support behind the conventional farming, such as other than to produce the crops from conventional farming to feed people. There are the farming such as big oil companies and multinational chemicals companies that benefit from supporting conventional farming. They promote the use of chemicals to increase their productions and generate their revenue. And this is another reason why we should turn our back on conventional farming in terms of ethics. So we should be focusing more on human, environment, and animal welfare. So the use of a lot of chemicals for crops or on animals can happen for chemical addiction. When the farmers start using chemicals, they will need more and more chemicals on their product to increase their productivities of products and gain more profit, without considering of the footprints or the effects on the nature, on other humans, and the animals' welfare. So the chemical addiction is benefit to pesticide fertilizers company, multinational chemical companies, and large crops buyers, but does not benefit and harm other human biodiversity and animals. Chemicals addiction or using a lot of chemicals will cause environment and food produced to customer to become unsafe, as well as working environment for farmers. Pesticide exposure is a huge hazard to farm workers and their families who live in that area from the pesticide contact and water contamination, which can increase the risks of cancers among farmers. And for such as pregnant workers, the birth defects can be caused by pesticide poisoning too. And not only human, but other living things in that biodiversity. This will kill some biodiversity that does not harm the crops, such as like honeybees also be killed from the use of pesticides side, which cause the unbalance of the environment. For animals meat conventional agriculture, there are the negative interaction to animals that keeping animals away from doing what their natural behavior should be doing, which this is also does not benefit much because it can reduce the reduction of productivities in animals. So what we should do is to promote the natural living concept of animal welfare for them to perform natural behavior and live a natural life, such as cows should be raised with access to outdoors. And also overuse of antibiotics in conventional livestock production will lead to antibiotic resistance bacteria, which has been risks to human health. What we should do instead is the other methods like organic livestock. So we should keep them in a good living condition for them to do the natural behavior animals, such as letting cows, sheep to pasture and and in a balanced diet and do the prevention instead of using antibiotics. Thank you.
Oh, okay, ครับ Okay, thank you. All right. If you're ready, take it away.
I understand your statement, but in conventional agriculture, GMOs or genetically modified organisms are organisms whose genetic material has been altered using genetic engineering. Genetic engineering is the modification of an organism's phenotype by altering its genetic makeup. So it could also be used to reduce pesticide usage. Moreover, benefits of genetic engineering in agriculture are also increased crop yields, reduced costs for food or drug production, enhanced nutrient composition and food quality, resistance to pests and disease, greater food security, more nutritious and tastier food, and medical benefits to the world's growing population. The goal of conventional agriculture is to maximize the potential yield of crops. In maintaining a conventional system, biodiversity, soil fertility, and ecosystems are compromised. Production of these crops is beneficial to nothing but food security and economy. Once established, a conventional farm requires constant maintenance but produces maximal yields. Global demand and consumption of agriculture crops for food, feed, and fuel is increasing at a rapid pace. This demand for plant materials has been expanding for many years, so this becomes a benefit for conventional farming. As you may have not known, there are many benefits for conventional agriculture. One of the most reasons to do conventional farming is that it creates job opportunities. 26.7% or roughly 2 billion people in the world derive their livelihood from agriculture. Imagine these farmers don't have a job. What will they be doing? For example, conventional farming creates an opportunity for farmers to have a job, which allows them to make their own living by receiving income and being able to afford food and other basic needs as well as education. This allows them to have a better living condition and better quality of life for individuals. This is a major impact because there will be an increase in the rate of employment, especially in rural areas, and at the same time decreases poverty and improves the economy as a whole. The second benefit of doing conventional farming is that it lowers the cost of production. Because of low production costs, conventional farmers are able to mass produce their crops and sell them to consumers at lower prices. As an effect, there will be more choices for customers to choose because competitors will also be urged to lower their prices to be more competitive. This is a win-win situation for both farmers and consumers. Lastly, another benefit of doing conventional agriculture and meat is that it allows an increase in food production and yield. Right now, 10.7% of the people in the world are facing starvation. A prediction that conventional agriculture systems are expected to be able to feed a world population of 9 billion in 2050.
There will likely to be a significant ecological, environmental, and social consequences, which is a very useful system. When it comes to crop yields, as Tiger have stated, that organic farms are about 20% less efficient than conventional farms. Not all lands are suitable for growing food, and there will be less land available because people will need places to live. Conventional farming allows for the potential of the entire world still being fed because it makes dedicated lands more productive. Expanding on this point is that in organic farming and sustainable agriculture, these methods have significant swings in quality and yield since you can't grow many crops at the same time and are very time consuming. So the benefits of conventional farming is that it helps produce a high overall yield for farmers because less of the crops are damaged due to natural conditions. This creates a chance to feed the world and prevent crops from extinction, as well as helps to decrease hunger in the world because there are more resources being produced and cost of production is low. So there's more chance of affordability. So with organic farming, will Thailand still be the second largest exporter of rice? And what will these farmers do if you turn your back on conventional farming? Thank you.
All right. Okay. Okay, guys. So I just recently sent the link for the first round voting for the third section of debating today. Please do vote. Again, on your right hand side is the support team, and on your left hand side is the against team. And now, and now, it's and now for the last round of debating for these sessions. Needs Mr. Cam need to finishing up strong. Yeah. Okay. So if you're ready, Mr. Cam, let's take it away.
Listening to the opposing side, I think that we can agree on some terms. We could agree that the population is growing and we will need more food to feed them. So, stating this, I would also want to state a data from the UN Food and Agriculture Organization. Let's imagine a globe. Our world, 29%, only 29% of the available space is land. And from that 79%, only 71% is a habitable land. And from that 71%, 50% we use that for agriculture. So as you can see that conventional farming have already taken lots of space. And if we would want to feed more people, eventually we will need to create more farms and make even more conventional farming. So how would you make more food, given that you already took up 50% of the agriculture of the habitable space? I think that most answers would be on robotics and use of automation in production. But won't this also disrupt what you said about job opportunities? Talking about job opportunities, is the conventional farming where the job we really offer them? We expose these farmers to pesticides, herbicides, and chemicals that is very dangerous to their bodies. And other than that, they are not self-sustained. They are tied to buying these pesticides and fertilizers, and the loop continues on forever and forever. Imagine if one day the system failed, and eventually they will need to buy only these pesticides from one organization, where this organization can push up the price however they want. At the end, they cannot be self-sustained, and I believe that this is not the job that we should be offering them. So, talking about the possibility of alternatives to conventional agriculture, these also have been proven by interest from investments. If in the farming section, companies involved in a thing called vertical farming called Plenty have raised over $500 million and also is having a substantial growth in the market. While in Japan, a small vertical farming has started since the 1970s and is currently implemented in large scale. So these vertical farming addresses all the I'll say most of the problems that conventional farming had.
You talk about the production yield and also pesticides, right? For pesticides, vertical farming is held in a closed area and where no pests are allowed inside. So there will be no problem on the pesticides. And production yield. In the production yield, a research called Up and Away, The Economics of Vertical Farming, published in the Journal of Agricultural Studies, which compared the estimated yields of a vertical farm to a field farm, for which the vertical farm allows for more than 500 times the production yield of a traditional farmlands. Next, apart from the agriculture, I think that we also need to address the problem of the meat production that is happening. Currently, in the conventional way, meats uh, are, are made into are produced and grown in farms, which 71% of the 50% agricultural land is used for this. And also for the alternative, Memphis Meat is a company that is working towards a lab-grown meat, and it is also funded by Tyson Meat, who currently owns more than 50% of the meat market in the US, and also Cargill, the second largest beef producer in the world. And the question will be, why are they funding the things that will eventually disrupt them? The answer is this. This shows the realization of that big firms, they realize that the conventional way is not sustainable for them. And they are finding a way to create a more sustainable solution. So as I've stated, we have already used more than 50% of our habitable land. And conventional farming is already at its limit. Um, and also to a little bit rebuttion on the families and restaurants that choose to buy conventional meat. I think that it is because that as the as my peers have stated, that we have been invested in conventional farming for more than 70 years, and because of that, the investment in conventional farming have been more to be able to make the product price even lower and being addressed by these people. So, as a conclusion, conventional farm agriculture has its days with its high production rate and lower cost, but its downside overshadows it. In the past, conventional agriculture might be the most efficient way to feed people, but with the improvement in technologies, we now have access to alternatives that are capable of providing more crop yields and also more sustainable. Other than that, problem in many sectors, as my colleagues have mentioned, proved to be very potent and is in need of a change. We have been living not knowing how these agricultural methods affect us, taken in small doses of chemicals that have the capability of taking our lives, and animals living under inhumane conditions, forced to eat to milk the most out of its production, and the environment, adding chemicals to the soil, which ended up in other bodies and causing disruption to the whole ecosystem. For over 50 years, these problems have been neglected, but now it is the time. Big companies that are eventually environmentally conscious are already taking a step toward this, and I would like to emphasize this fact. It is time for us to turn our back to conventional farming and focus on the other alternatives that have been proven to be more sustainable to us and also the world. Thank you.
All right. Finishing strong. Don't let me see you eat normal beef again, ever. All right. Kuna, if you're ready, please.
Okay, first, I understand your point about using technology, but using technology, it has many disadvantages. There's a high upfront cost, significant operation cost, high labor cost, and all of these points, uh, people, it will destroy livelihood in for of the people in the rural area. They want access to education or health security if they don't have money. Uh, as you say that there's a vertical gardening, right? Apart from like technology cost, technology issues may cause a huge problems too, because vertical farming does not just use one specific technology, right? Instead, it is independent on a range of technologies of lighting, regulating temperature, managing humidity, and many more. Even a single issue with either of these technologies can be hindered in the process of vertical farming. For instance, if a cultivar loses power for one day, it can turn out to be extremely costly for days product produced. Several others believe that our modern day technologies are not mature enough for mass adoption. And one other concern is the pollination problems. As everything is kept in the building, uh, there won't be insects or winds or anything that will breed the each the plants naturally. So that's the point that I concern. And then let's move to the summary part of my group. World population is drastically increasing year by year, and many people are starving. However, one way to solve these problems is by utilizing conventional farming. Conventional farming costs less because farmer can do mass production, and conventional farming also use more crops, around 20% more than organic means. As they can produce at lower cost, they can gain a higher profit. And at this point, it leads to a job creation, which improve family living condition. And as a consequences, farmer and their family are able to access education and health security. Most farmers around the world still rely on conventional farming. Turning your back to conventional farming is equal to turning your back to those farmers who put food on your dining table. In conventional farming, GMO is one way to reduce pesticide usage. Moreover, GMO also helps with increasing taste and disease tolerance, increasing nutrients and taste in food, accelerating crops growth rate, and GMO plant can be used as a medicine or vaccine too. Conventional farming isn't as harmful to the environment as people perceive, because organic farming produces more carbon emission than traditional method, because it takes up a significantly greater amount of land, and it results in more carbon being stored in soil. Also, if livestock require longer time to become a product, the methane released from animal is also a part of greenhouse gas issue that leads to climate change. In order to produce the same amount of crops comparing to traditional farming, organic farming requires broader land use. With higher demand of land comes a higher rate of deforestation, and that leads to global warming too. Apart from carbon and land, organic agriculture harms water too. Nitrite concentration in water that is used in organic culture is almost 10 times higher than conventional agriculture. As you can see, conventional farming outpower organic farming in many aspects. So do not turn your back on conventional agriculture right away. Thank you.
All right, great. That's good. So I just recently sent the last round of the voting to the group line. So if you're ready, please vote your favorite team, either team A or team B. Okay, let's do the voting now. Yes, let's do the photo one more time. Cool. Thank you so much. Well done. Good job. Good job. Good job. All right. For the last round of pitching session, debating session today, we have under the topic of do we need infrastructure privatization and commodification to make the world more sustainable? Big topic, hot issues. All right. For the team that will be debating, the supporting team will be consist of Si Yining, Mr. Kitisak, Mr. Nathan, and Mr. Kasidit, the dream team. And then the against team will be consists of
Hello.
ธนรีธนพงศ์พันนลิน and ภพก
Hello.
รall right okay give me 1 second okay guys I just recently posted the voting poll for the first round of section 4. Do we need infrastructure privatizations and commodification to make the world more sustainable? All right. If you support the argument, please vote for Team A. If you're against the argument, please vote for the Team B. Good. All right. If you're ready, Team A, Mr. Gasidit. If you're ready, please take it away.
Hello, everyone. Our team, as of today's proposition, strongly believe that this is true that we need infrastructure, privatization, and commodification to make the world more sustainable. To start with, what is the privatization? Privatization is the transferring of property and operating business is eligible commercially under the government. How- However, private organization will run the business instead through in the principle of capitalism, also known as a system. The market economy is already in the principle that the government should do what is necessary. The private sector can do it, can afford it. Outside of this, it should only be a person who sets the rule for the private sector. Apart from that, the government should only apply the regulation and then let the private sector compete among themselves, only forbidding the market monopoly or exploiting consumer or labor, which was established since 1876 when Adam Smith he has the father of economic, and it is a principle that he has never changed. Moreover, our group want to mention one woman, Margaret Thatcher. She has been President of England since 1979. What did she do? She had improved from the age of declination to the golden age. Thatcher did her 12 year as Prime Minister for Economy. As a result, the British returned to life. The economy was reviving. Three things that she mainly done are: the first one, the dissatisfaction of the labor union. Number two, deregulation reduce regulation so that the market can act more flexible. And the most important one, privatization more than 50 state enterprise to be private. She could change the slow and unresponsiveness of government service such as British Gas, British Airways and British Telecom. Originally, it was completely renovated into the world class, which can save a lot of the country budget. Thank you.
Oh, that's it? Okay. Okay. So next, you can start.
Hi, my name is Tanari Tommy, one of the against team representatives. Let me introduce you to the disadvantage of privatization and commodification, which cannot bring sustainability to the world. Providing the government benefits to public sector is the problem solving that creates many more following issues. Privatization is just the beginning. Commodification is the next step of creating problems. It allows the private sectors to use public resources at a different cost without a competition in the market.
The privatization and commodification bring the monopoly to public sectors that has no reconstructing the competition in the market to be bordered to other competitors in the market. Even though the infrastructure must be the product and service that should be accessible for everyone, the power of infrastructure industry is already in the public sector's hand, which consider the most profit they gain and not concerned about the benefit that users should gain. This will increase the gap in society and also inequality. For example, World Bank and International Monetary Fund privatization plan in developing world results in reduced access to water for the poor people. Structural adjustment program forced government seeking loan include water privatization and acquisition. Impoverished, politically enfeebled countries are hardly in a position to refuse these conditions, as doing so would cause them to default on their debts. Another problem with privatization is that it might not be suitable for important infrastructure projects. For example, there are some institutions like power plants or other facilities that should still be owned by government instead of private corporation in order not to lose control over those important facilities, which are crucial to ensure a high quality of life for the local people and preventing overconsumption of the resources. Moreover, in a market with plenty of interconnection and interdependencies, the privatization of company may lead to serious problems since the responsibility of the company may become unclear. In turn, there may be plenty of disagreement and lawsuit regarding which company is responsible for which service. In the worst case, it might lead to a serious shortage regarding the supply with important goods. Sustainably mean meeting our own needs without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs, which include the factors natural resources, social resources, and economic resources to become sustainable. However, the privatization and commodification meet only some group of people needs and lead to more problem in each factors. So it is obvious to consider it as a non-sustainable way. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, you can start voting now for the second round of the last pitching session. No, debating session today. Again, if you support the argument, please vote Team A, and if you against the argument, please vote Team B. Do we need infrastructure privatizations and commodification to make the world more sustainable? All right, cool. So if you're ready, Nathan, take the stage. Speak slowly. Speak more. You have 5 minutes. Utilize the time.
Good morning, everyone. Today I'm going to talk about how and why we need privatization. A country in transitional economic states or country that purely utilize central economic models, they believe that only the government can make changes for the better. However, they fail and evidently accepted the change toward the market economy model. The crucial aspect is to sell or return the conscripted properties to the private sector to run the business. The benefit of privatization is to reduce the burden of the state that would have to use limited government resources to contribute at the mission. The private sector can do it and are willing to do it. So we should let them do it. And the government should use the budget to do other necessities such as education, healthcare, and welfare instead. Another great benefit is corruption reduction. The easiest way to reduce corruption is to downsize and reduce the role of the government sector. If processing is possible, imagine how much we can reduce the size of corruption. Privatization also helps develop the capital market as well as attracting capital flows from around the world. As in Thailand, the introduction of PTT into the market in 2001 has helped awaken the stock market, which was extremely sluggish due to the Tom Yam Kung crisis. According to the World Bank research, there's a great deal of evidence that privatized excuse me, privatized country gain a lot of benefit, including for every 1% of GDP, privatized state enterprise asset leads to 0.5% real growth of GDP and 0.25 reduction in unemployment. Privatized country attract twice as much foreign direct investment or FDI than the unprocessed country. The development of an emerging market depends heavily on privatization. At the micro level, privatized business have an annual total factor productivity growth 4 to 5 times higher than a state-owned enterprise, and ultimately profitable to consumers. Benefit no longer have to use government resources to subsidize. Most of the trade and services of state-owned enterprise are necessary and are the base of the cost of every industry. If the quality is good, the cost is lower, quantity is enough, it will increase the production potential, the country's competition, and increase overall productivity. And this is the only way to sustainable growth. Thank you.
All right. Okay. So the argument person from the against team, you ready? Okay. Take it away.
Um, as you said that privatization reduce corruption, this only reduce the corruption in the government sector, but this is not reduce the corruption between public and private sector. Privatizing infrastructure is lending the infrastructure to an owner that is only thinking of their own benefit in the financial aspect. This will be bad if the profit maximizing activity of the private business hurts society. They will try to keep production costs down, but will also want to sell the mix of product customer desire. The first, through competition. In a competitive market, private profit maximizing business try to steal each other customer. They do this both by better meeting customer need and by undercutting their rival price. Each business act to raise its own profit, but the overall effect is that profit are compete away. Customer gain, innovative business gain, but small business that compete in this go bankrupt. This also lead to the economic issue due to the private sector own a big company, which new company that enter to the market don't have enough purchasing power to the big production and new advanced technology. This will leave only the company in the market that can survive. The more bigger to the firm, the more ability of the private to control the market and determine the price of the goods and services, which this means it can charge higher price and maximize profit. Monopoly business also lead to wages reduction because there are only businesses that are be able to hire a large number of people, and some people won't be able to choose their job, which the company have a chance to force the wages down. Monopoly can become inefficient and less innovative over time because they do not have to compete with other producers in the marketplace, and the product will be served as the poor quality. In addition, privatization infrastructure also lead to inequality, which can disproportionately impact low-income users. This impact can occur directly and through higher fees for privatized service or indirectly if a service provider cut costs by offering low-paid jobs. Like in Dillon Beach, resident water bill from the investor on utility cold water were up to 6 times as expensive in 2013 when compared with neighboring town built by the public water district. Or in Thailand, the inequality between private sector and public school. Public school provide better facility, equipment, social education quality, also offer many opportunities to their students, And of course, all parents want to seek best thing to their children. But how about poor students that don't even have an opportunity to access the education? Infrastructure should not be prioritized as business because it is a basic thing that all of the people have a right to access the good quality life. According to Carillion plc, multinational construction and facility management service by company in UK that serve hospital, library, school and prison, the company experienced financial difficulty which leave almost billion of debt. Um, project to shut down and allow 30,000 unpaid subcontractors. In this area, it can be argued that the government has a choice as to whether it nationalize its work or continue to rely on private contractor. The government has made some promises to pay subcontractor working on public contract, but the key is that 30,000 subconnector is what will happen to money over the last few months. If this is not paid, then this may become the insolvent and the major hospital loss and level will be delayed for a considerable of time. This makes the government responsible for this debt by collecting more taxes from citizens. So is this what we call sustain? Thank you.
All right. Okay. Short and sweet. Okay. Just recently post the third round of voting for the fourth session of debating today into the group line. Please pick your team, pick your choice, and let's vote now. Okay, cool. All right. If you can finish voting, see you. You ready?
Okay.
Okay. If you're ready, take it away.
So I come with one of case study that I think that when the state enterprise will co-op with the privatization is worse than the whole company become the privatization. So I come up with the PTT problems. So we know that the PTT is a state enterprise which the executor is the major shareholder, which including the Ministry of Finance of PTT shares, allow 10 billion shares or equivalent to the 54.818% of the business. So they have come up with many problems. Firstly, the market share problems. And the second one, we known as the province reserve of natural gas. There are only 9 years remaining of condensate, 6 years of crude oil, 4 years of which are the condensates of crude oil. It may not be very scary because if it run out, we will import from the world market price. But the gas, if it run out, we have the importance of the price. Higher than double the price of self-made of electricity must be increased immediately by more than 30%. Plus, the petrochemical industry is one of the main industry, must be extremely difficult, probably going bankrupt with a bit plus, and the gas of the long later fill in the dry gas that cannot be made petrochemical anymore. The third problems, it come out that its method of production, that is the use of the reserve is used, including the import of lack of raw material, it process or for use, and there may be some leftover of export in some products. So before 1981, we import almost 100% of them are crude oil. Some of them are ready-made oil. When we discovered gas, condensate, and crude oil, then we added ingredient petroleum, used the oil factory and gas separation plants acting in the midstream petroleum industry. And another problem is a roving of gas pipes and gas separation plants. It is still a part of the midstream today. It looks like PTT is still monopolized because gas pipelines are naturally in the oligopoly market, or we know as because of everyone built the pipes is broken. However, there is actually a system called third-party access. It is used all over the world that will undermine the monopoly power gas separation plant. Currently, there are 5 factories, approximately 1,800 million cubic feet per day, all owned by the PTT. But if there is a third-party access, it will be open for outside to invest. However, it looked like that amount of the proven reserve we have is scary. No one want to invest except Burma Gas, but as far as I know, the GSP does not have the much profit. Because of this issue I mentioned earlier, it will affect other oil companies and will be bankrupt immediately for market share more than over 40%. So PT at a 100% share having to sell 50 million liters from 5 baht, so immediately became 2 baht. Well, let out of many decades, it must have been destroyed. In the future, we will have many problems, the so-called energy shortage. I am confident that if the reclaimed PTT occurs, the Thai economy will definitely regain at least 5%, let alone how to do it. Where will the money be collected? It will be buying the market price immediately increase to public purchase to 5% of the GDP. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next is okay. Go ahead. Let's go.
Okay, firstly, I understand your point that the privatization and commodification made like create a rapid growth to the economy. But there's a consequence of creating like rapid growth to GDP. It creates like inequality to society. As you mentioned, Margaret Thatcher, uh, back in London in around 1960, uh, with that rapid growth of economy, it creates many consequences from that. As you all know that London at the time it has like many pollution problem. The many industrial cities in London produce like excessive smoke caused from the management without cost from the development without like proper management from the government, because they let like the private sectors control all the like industry in the country. And another case that you mentioned about the PTT, for you guys like as a consumer you might know that in from the view of like gas station owner, PTT create like branding to themselves as a monopoly business. For example, if you want to start like a gas station business in Thailand, you have not much choice. You have not much choice to choose. If you open like auto gas station, that's not PTT. It's possible that you will have like less sale compared to PTT. And all business owner that want to start like gas station business, PTT make them have to decide to buy the franchise and start the PTT business instead of creating auto gas station brand. There's another case in UK that I want to mention about. The one that Kate mentioned about the Carillion collapse. UK let private firms like control the public sector projects, like many projects like school, hospital, and then the company go bankrupt. No one hold this company anymore, and the one who need to respond to this is the government. And how the government stop is like increasing tax to people, cause they have to pay for the debt that the company create without any responsibility from the company, as it over their limit to act. We might use to the commodification, but it doesn't mean that it is what we should do. As the commodification create many consequences to us, it affect to health issue and create a big increase in the consumption. For example, one of the commodification case, uh, the inequality in the education. If anyone try to sell like the knowledge, it means that people like in lower class cannot like access to the same level of the knowledge as the people who like richer can, and this is consequence to create like inequality in life, as they will have like less opportunity compared to like richer people. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Don't forget the debating team cannot vote for themselves, right? Don't forget it, right? Okay. I just recently sent the fourth round of voting to the group line, so please vote and be ready. Okay. Good. All right. For the last round, summarization round, we got Mr. Kitisak, the top of the head of the team, the top player of the games, and the leader of everything. Yeah. Thank God you come to this class today. And also we have Miss Panalin, who is also the leader of the team as well. All right. Okay. So if you're ready, finish your vote already. Mr. Kitisak, wrap it up strong. Do it.
As in 1960, there is not much privatization in UK, but in 1979, when the Margaret Thatcher is president of England, she privatized more than 50 state enterprises to be private, and it improved from the age of declination to the golden age. As a result, the British returned to life. The economy was reviving. Consequently, the condition which leads to processing, especially quality processing, the short-term and long-term benefits are often as follows. People with higher education, good financial literacy, understanding of roles, and support good privatization. It's not just patriotic and nationalism. In addition to amendments to the statutory authorities who have been complained with the administrative law such as antitrust law, market dominance, is a developed capital market. Have a stable government efficient, their mandate is trusted by most people because it is a travel that easily attacked and controversial high. Most of the time, privatization occurs when country is in need, such as sluggish economy and debt crisis. To sum up, the infrastructure privatization and commodification gains a lot of benefits in terms of sustainability, as when the infrastructure is run by the private sector, there's less budget being used in running the business, while the efficiency increases and leads to more profitability. It clearly shows that the private sector can run the infrastructure businesses better than the government does, as when it is operated by the government, there will be unnecessary increases in costs, such as overload workers or corruption in some bad managing countries. This will significantly improve the country's economy, as when the business run by the private sector, there are a lot of advantages among the government run businesses, such as services, products, and accommodations. This will also lead to potential improvement in a sustainable environment, as the private sector can run businesses more efficiently. This allows citizens to live in a lively city and well-sustained environment. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Titisak. Then Miss Panalin, are you ready? Last one. Should finish super strong. Okay.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So, like, according to what the opponent have just stated right now. Like I'm not so sure if they have listened to what my response team have said, which we have been explaining it like very clearly that like in the Margaret Thatcher case, like the rising of the economy could be seen very clearly, but in the long term like results, it can also be clearly seen clearly too that the solution is very not sustained. The pollution have been like rising till like today. So talking about like our topic is about like sustainability. So do you really think or are you even listening to like what we're talking about? Okay, so let me start talking about my summary. Talking about sustainability in privatization and commodification, it is not about how much benefits infrastructure privatization and commodification would bring. It is about who is receiving those benefits and do those benefits really bring a sustainable solution in a long term results to us. And of course, the goal of the private sector, according to the internet, is to make more money than the public sector. If they are charging the infrastructure usage so high, this would increase the inequality gap. Rich people would always have the better options in life than poor people. It can be seen easily in Thailand, since inequality has been something nearly normal for us now. For instance, people who learned in expensive famous universities would have more job opportunities than people that cannot afford the university fee, even though they are smarter. On the other hand, if privatization causes high competitiveness, forcing private sectors to reduce their product costs in order to compete with their opponents, um, making it more affordable. This will also lead to a high consumption rate, in which if the infrastructure we are privatizing is water or electricity, the resources would be clearly that it won't be enough for us to be using. So what good does privatization really bring instead of giving profits to the rich people and increasing the poverty gap? In addition, we citizens will never know who will the owner of our infrastructure and will they be good or will they corrupt? There are no actual rules and regulation, they are lying below. They may even sell our infrastructure to anyone without us noticing. Okay, so let's talk about commodification. So let me restate its meaning again. Commodification is the process of transforming a product, service, idea, nature, personal information, and people into commodities or object of trade. Yes, commodification brings advantages in the business environment, providing opportunities for developing new products and services which meet the increasing demands of the customers for the riches. However, in order to create a balance between society and market ethics must be considered in order to ensure a long-lasting exchange of values. It is so ironic that competition increases the price of everything in terms of money, but at the same time reduces the value of everything, making everything all in the financial aspect. Do we not measure the quality of everything from friendship to art to healthcare in dollars? Emotions like love have almost lost their value. This is degrading the moral of the society and it doesn't lead to an end, it is the end itself. So do you still think that the benefits stated by the opponent's team about privatizing or commodification is really creating a sustainable world? According to the result of the case they have mentioned it up too. Thank you.
All right, good. So that will be the last pitching session and so the last debate. No, debating session and debater. Um, I just post the last voting link to the group line, so please do vote. If you support the argument, pick this A team. If you change your mind and go against the argument, pick this B team. All right. Don't forget that the team that are pitching cannot vote their own team. Okay. Okay. Good. So let's take one more photo. Okay. Cool. All right. I hope you guys having fun today. I hope it's interesting to you. I mean, thank you for preparation times that you spend. I see a lot of good contents there. I see a lot of good debating there. So enjoy the times of the weekends, and I will see you the second session of the pitching again on the 27th of November, same times, 9 o'clock to 1 p.m. Same room. All right. Thank you so much. Bye. Thank you.